Okay, this is the solution video for the exercise. The first question is, what's a good use case for the char or car data type? Just make one up. Well, remember, the char data type is best for data, pieces of text that are fixed in size. So something that's always 2 characters, always 50 characters, something like a zip code always being 5 characters in the US, right? I think it's 5 characters, or a year. If you just needed to store a year and nothing else, 4 digits or 2 digits, you could do that as text using char. But if you need something that varies in length, name, city, anything really that's text that varies, it's way more common to have text that is variable in size. Then varchar is more flexible and is actually more efficient. But char comes out on top when we have that fixed data size. It is more efficient compared to varchar. It just depends on what we're trying to store. So fill in the blank here. We're going to make a table called inventory. Item name will be a piece of text. I would make that a varchar because there's no guarantee that our items are going to have the same length names. So it would be better to make it variable. And then price here is always less than 1,000,000. So I would do a decimal because we know that we're going to have at most 2 digits after the decimal. And before the decimal, we would at most have, in 1,000,000, 7 digits. So I think I would do decimal 7, 2. 7 digits before the decimal and then 2 after. But you could use float. You could also use double. But any of those types are going to be correct compared to something like int, which is what I would use for quantity. If we know we're going to have, only a whole number, an integer of some inventory item, we're not going to have 21.7 teddy bears. We'll have 21 or 22. So quantity should just be integer. And you could optimize it if there was a maximum. If you knew you never were going to have whatever the maximum int is at 2 billion, you might want a medium int or a small int or even a tiny int, just depending on what that threshold is. How many would you ever have at most stored in this column? Next up, what's the difference between datetime and timestamp? That's a confusing one. Both data types store the date and the time, but timestamp takes up less memory. It's I believe 4 bytes compared to 8 bytes, something like that. But it's roughly half last time I checked. But the biggest difference, aside from timestamp being more memory efficient, is that timestamp can store a much smaller range of dates. It goes back from 1970 something up to 2038, whereas datetime can go from the year 1000 up to the year 9999. So big difference in the range. Otherwise, though, they both store dates and times together. Okay, so print out the current time. Now we write some code. So to get the current time, we can use cur time, but I have to select it. So select cur time, and there's the current time. It's a little late for me, 8 at night. Just recording before I go to dinner, I guess. And then the next piece, print out the current date, but not the time. So I would use cur date. And for both of these, we also have the longer version, which I always forget if it's underscore. I think it's current underscore date. It's the same thing as cur date. It's just extra characters. And then the same thing for time. We have current time. So if you did that, that's also totally valid. Next up, print out the current day of the week as a number. So we'll first take the current date. We could also use the current date time, either one, because they both have the date information. And then we'll pass that through to day of week. I think it is, but if you ever forget, and I definitely forget, we can look at the docs. But I think it is day of week and then cur date. There we are, day 4. That's the number for me. You'll probably see something different. Sunday is 1, Monday is 2, Tuesday is 3, and then Wednesday is 4, and it is indeed a Wednesday today. Next up, print out the current day of the week with the day name, not the number. So for this one, I believe we want to use day name. So we have day of week and day name. And again, it's very easy to mix them up or just forget that they exist. But let's do cur date. And there we are. We see Wednesday. Now I should also show this with now. Remember, now gives us the timestamp, the date, and the time. So that works as well. And it might appear to work with cur time. It is giving me the current day, but remember, cur time includes no date information. So day name is just going off of whatever the current day is. So this wouldn't work if I tried to do, I have my birth date and birth time. If I tried to do day name of each birth time in my people table, or from people, they all just say Wednesday, 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 and it's highly unlikely all those dates we stored are Wednesdays, but it's more than unlikely. It just doesn't work if we only provide a time to day name or any of these other day or date related functions. Now, there's actually another way we could have printed out the current day of the week or the number of the day of the week, which is using the date format function. Remember how this works? We provide a format string with these specifiers. So one of these is day of the week, somewhere in here. Maybe I already passed it. Day of the month. Where are you? Weekday name. There we are. It's %W. So I could do that. Select date format, and then I will provide it the current date time, or technically it's a timestamp. And then my format string will be %W, uppercase W. And that also gives me Wednesday, but this is a little clunkier, and who is going to remember %W compared to day name, which I think is just, a little bit easier. Okay, next up, print out the current day, and time using this format. So we want the 2-digit month, a slash, 2-digit day, a slash, 4-digit year. So for this one, we're definitely going to need to do date format, but I'm going to change my format string. I'll provide now, although I could also just do cur date, because we're only using the date information, we're not using time. So the current date information, so we'll find the numeric month right here. We've got %C, although I think there's another option. This is the one we want, %lowercase m, because it's always going to be 2 digits, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, whereas this one up here, %C, we'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4 until we get to 10, 11, 12. Those will be double digits. So if I always want 2 digits for month, I'll use %M. It's kind of tedious trying to find the right specifier in that list. All right, so that's going to give me my first bit. Then I want a /, so that's what it looks like there. And then after that /, I want 2 digits for the day. So we probably have the same sort of thing. Day of the month. Here we are, 2 digits, 0, 0, versus day of the month where we don't have the leading 0, but I want this one. So we always have 2 digits. That's %D. %D. All right. So now we have 10/05. Of course, when you're running this, you'll see something different, most likely. And then we have 4 digits for the year. I believe that's going to be something Y. Here it is, year numeric, 2 digits is lowercase, 4 digits is uppercase Y, and that's exactly what we want. So let's do that now, uppercase Y, uppercase Y. Now I forgot the slash. Here we go, 10/05/2022. Okay, we got that. Next up, a little more complicated. Print out the current day and time using this format. So we're going to use the same date format function. But this time, instead of cur date, I'm going to pass through now. And this will allow me to work with the date and the time, because remember how now works. If I just select now versus cur date, that's just the date. But if I do now, it's the date and time together in a timestamp. So that's what I'm going to want to do. Select date, format, now, and then what will my date formatting string look like? First, we want the full month name. So somewhere in there, this one right here, month name, the full name is %uppercase M, and then a space. So we get October in this case. And then we want second. So that is the day of the month with English suffix, %uppercase D. There we go, October 5th. And then at, that one's easy. And then finally, we need to get the time here. Now there is an easy way to get the time if we wanted hours, minutes, and seconds, but I just want hours and then I want minutes. And in fact, for hours, I want a single digit. I don't want it padded with zeros. So we need to find hours somewhere on here. Here we are. Here's the padded one with a 0, 1. I don't want that. I want hour that does not have this leading 0. So percent lowercase k, and then a colon. Okay. And then what do we have next? And again, I didn't specify if it was 12 or 24-hour time, so we're just going to do 24. And then the minutes. And the minutes here is %i. So we'll do that, %i. And that should do it. October 5th at 20:21. Verify. Same format that we saw here. Of course, the dates are different, but it's the same pattern. Next up, the final piece is to create a tweets table that stores the tweet content, a username, and the time each tweet was created at. So I'll do this in a file, create table, tweets. This is still very simple for an actual tweets table. There'd be a lot more going on, but we'll have the, I already forgot, content. Let's call it that. Content will be varchar, and let's limit it to be 180 characters. Then we have the username, and I don't know what the limit is on characters, but let's say I think somewhere around 20. You don't get extremely long usernames. It might even be fewer than that, but it is certainly not going to be fixed in length, so I'm also going to use varchar for that. And then we have time it was created. So I'll just call this created at or posted or something like that. And that's going to be a timestamp. It could be a date time as well, but I'm going to do a timestamp because it takes up less memory. And I'll have it default to now. Now, instead of using now, I could also do current timestamp. And what's weird, it's kind of a quirk with MySQL. For current timestamp, you can get away without parentheses or with parentheses. But with now, you have to have parentheses. If I don't have parens on now, I get an error. Take a look here. If I select now with parens, it works. Select without parens, we get an error. But with current timestamp, it works with parens and without. It's just a weird quirk. So you can use either one. Now it's a little shorter. Let's run this and then just try inserting like maybe a single tweet. Insert into tweets. We'll do name or tweet content, I think we called it, and username, values, and then I'll just say, this is my first tweet, LOL, and then my username will be Colt Steele. All right, I insert that. Let's select star from tweets, and what do we see? Created at worked. We've got that now timestamp in there. And that's it for this exercise. Pat yourself on the back. We did a lot in this section. It was dull, it was boring, but it was important. Next, we move on to some stuff that I think is a bit more exciting, at least as far as SQL goes.